Have you ever found yourself in a situation where someone needed your help? Picture this. You're witnessing an accident, a moment of distress, where assistance is urgently required. Yet instead of leaping into action, you find yourself pausing, watching, waiting. You're not alone. We humans have a peculiar tendency to first observe others in our immediate vicinity, assessing their reactions before we decide on our own course of action. We may ask ourselves, have they noticed what's happening? How are they responding? What are their backgrounds, their status, their intentions? We may not even be consciously aware of these questions, but they're there, simmering beneath the surface of our thoughts, subtly influencing our decisions. What if I told you that this hesitation, this delay in stepping forward to lend a hand, is not an indication of your character, but rather a common psychological phenomenon? It's known as the bystander effect, and it's more prevalent than you might think. The bystander effect is a psychological phenomenon that may explain our hesitation in these situations. This is not a figment of our imagination, but a well-studied and documented occurrence, deeply rooted in our collective human psyche. The term bystander effect was first coined in the late 60s by social psychologists Bibb Latané and John Darley, following the tragic case of Kitty Genovese in New York. Despite the presence of numerous witnesses, none intervened during her fatal attack, sparking a widespread inquiry into human behavior and social responsibility. But what exactly is the bystander effect? Simply put, it's a social psychological theory suggesting that individuals are less likely to offer help in emergency situations when other people are present. The more bystanders there are, the less responsibility each individual feels. This diffusion of responsibility is a key factor in the bystander effect. Yet it's not just about shirking responsibility. Our behavior is also influenced by the unconscious process of social referencing. We look to others to gauge how we should respond. If the crowd appears calm, we convince ourselves that intervention may not be necessary. This is known as pluralistic ignorance, another pillar of the bystander effect. Several experiments have replicated these findings. One of the most famous is the smoke-filled room experiment conducted by Latané and Darley themselves. Unaware participants were less likely to report smoke seeping into the room when they were in the company of others who seemed unconcerned. But it's important to note that the bystander effect is not a universal law. It's more of a tendency, influenced by a myriad of factors such as the severity of the situation, the relationship between the bystander and the victim, and the bystander's own personality and past experiences. So the bystander effect is a well-documented phenomenon, but what does it mean for us in everyday life? The bystander effect has significant implications on our behavior and society. Let's delve into some of these implications. In emergency situations, for instance, the bystander effect can sometimes be a matter of life or death. The more people present, the less likely any one individual is to step up and offer help. This diffusion of responsibility can lead to tragic outcomes, with everyone expecting someone else to take action. Then there's the impact on our moral obligations. The bystander effect can create a moral paradox where we're torn between our instinct to help and our natural inclination to follow the crowd. This can lead to feelings of guilt or regret later on when we realize that we could have done something but chose not to. The bystander effect also shapes societal norms. It reflects our inherent desire to conform to the behavior of those around us. This is not necessarily a negative trait, as conformity can lead to societal order. But in the context of the bystander effect, it can inhibit the urgent help that someone might need. The bystander effect isn't just limited to emergencies, though. It extends into everyday scenarios, too. Ever noticed an issue at work but didn't speak up because no one else did? Or ever saw someone being treated unfairly but didn't intervene because others were ignoring it? That's the bystander effect in action. It's important to remember that the bystander effect is not indicative of apathy or indifference. It's a psychological phenomenon that influences our behavior in ways we might not even be aware of. The good news is, by understanding this effect, we can start to challenge our instincts and make more conscious decisions. So what can we do about this? The first step is awareness. By understanding the bystander effect, we can recognize when it's influencing our decisions and choose to act differently. We can decide to step in when we see something wrong, even if no one else is. Understanding the bystander effect can help us make sense of our actions and can even help us change our response in future situations. While the bystander effect is a common phenomenon, it is not inevitable. It's a psychological quirk that can be, with understanding and conscious effort, diffused. So, how do we overcome this invisible force that keeps us rooted to the spot when action is needed? One of the most powerful tools at our disposal is knowledge. By raising awareness of the bystander effect, we can begin to recognize when we're falling prey to it. The moment we see an incident unfold, we can remind ourselves that we're not just observers, but potential helpers. We can consciously decide to step in instead of waiting for others to make the first move. But recognizing the bystander effect is just the first step. We must also cultivate active empathy, the ability to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. It's easy to be a bystander when we perceive an incident as distant or unrelated to us. But when we empathize, we realize that the person in need could be us or someone we love. This emotional connection can spur us into action, breaking us free from the chains of the bystander effect. Lastly, we must arm ourselves with practical skills for emergency situations. This could mean learning first aid, self-defense, or crisis management. These skills not only make us more effective helpers, but also boost our confidence to step in when needed. If we know we can make a difference, we're more likely to do so. In the end, overcoming the bystander effect is about shifting our mindset. It's about moving from passive observation to active intervention, from indifference to empathy, from fear to courage. It's about realizing that we, as individuals, have the power to make a difference, to change the course of events, to save a life. So the next time you witness an incident, don't just stand there. Be the one to break the silence. Be the one to step forward. Be the one to help. With conscious effort, we can overcome the bystander effect and become more proactive in helping others. Each of us holds the power to make a difference in someone's life. This is not merely a motivational phrase, but a testament of our individual capacity to impact the world around us. While the bystander effect may at times hold us back, it's vital to remember the enormous potential that lies within each one of us. Let's explore a few instances of such sheer courage and will. Take, for instance, the story of a brave individual who was walking by a burning building. Ignoring the crowd that was watching the horrifying scene unfold, he rushed in to rescue a trapped child. His display of bravery not only saved a life, but also served as a reminder that one person's actions can make a world of difference. Or consider the tale of a woman who, while on a late-night walk, noticed a man slumped on a park bench. Instead of dismissing it as someone merely sleeping, she decided to check on him. Her timely intervention saved the man's life. He was having a stroke. Her actions that night demonstrated that we always have the choice to act, to intervene, to help. These stories are not uncommon, and they highlight the power of individual action in contrast to the bystander effect. They show that we are not just helpless spectators in the face of adversity. We can break free from the societal norms that often impede us from taking action. Instead, we can choose to be the change, to be the help that someone desperately needs. This power doesn't require any extraordinary abilities or resources. It merely requires us to care, to be aware, and to take decisive action when the situation calls for it. It requires us to be human, to empathize, to extend our hand when someone else is in need. As we navigate through life, let's carry these stories within us. Let them serve as reminders of our potential, of our capacity to change someone's life. Remember, the next time you find yourself in a situation where help is needed, you have the power to break free from the bystander effect and make a difference. Because in the end, it's the power of one that can spark a wave of change. So there you have it, the bystander effect. A fascinating yet perplexing aspect of human psychology. It helps us understand why we sometimes hesitate to act, even when someone else is in dire need. We've explored the depths of this effect, from its roots embedded in our subconscious evaluation of a situation to the societal implications it carries. We've seen how it can paralyze us, making us mere spectators in critical moments, but we've also learned that awareness is the first step towards breaking free from this psychological trap. By consciously choosing to act, we can overcome the bystander effect, transforming from passive observers to active participants. And it's important to remember, every choice we make, every action we take, can have a profound impact. Our decisions could mean the difference between peril and rescue, between despair and hope. The next time you're in a situation where someone needs help, remember your actions matter. Let's strive to be more than just bystanders.
Subscribe to the channel for more video, and please give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this.